Today's episode of the Cedric A. Phillips podcast is brought to you by the MPL because, boy, there's a lot to talk about here, right? Not even in a bad way so much. It's just there's just a lot going on in Magic right now, and a lot of it is centered around the MPL and the announcement made yesterday by Lane Chase about some new additions to the MPL, which Tommy Ashton, good friend from Washington, D.C., and I talk about at length today. We talked about the newest additions to the MPL, what we think the MPL should be, some of the complications and frustrations that people are experiencing, and a whole bunch more. Pretty candid chat with good old Tommy. I know a lot of people were asking when he was going to come back to the podcast, and he is back. And his wonderful ways, even though he did not do well in his MCQ last weekend, he's still upbeat and chipper. And a little sarcastic, too, because that's the Tommy Ashton package, and I do hope that you enjoy it. But before we get there, we, of course, got to start here with Julevera, Julevera. You can find their music on Spotify, some new tunes coming out right now down the pipeline, couple of new singles that hopefully you will enjoy. You can also find them on YouTube or wherever else you do get your tunes. But for now, we listen to them, and then we listen to me and Tommy talk about the MPL. All right, everybody, welcome to another magical episode of the Cedric A. Phillips podcast. I'm your host, Cedric Phillips, at Cedric A. Phillips on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and all the various places. Tommy, Tommy, buddy, the people are, they were clamoring to have you back. At least that's what you told me.
Yes, and I am at Stainerson on Twitter, and don't bother me anywhere else.
Perfect. That's great. That's good. That's good social media promotion right there. Very proud of you. He's Tommy Ashton. The last one we did, we were eating, I was eating pancakes. I don't remember what you were eating.
Breakfast sandwich. It was pretty good. We kind of needed to rush to get to the tournament.
And isn't it a good thing we did?
Yes, very good. Only great thing. Thank God we got there on time.
Because we both did so good.
I wouldn't have wanted to be late for the things that happened to us.
See, I agree. I'm glad that we are on the same page, as we oftentimes are, but this may test things between you and I.
Yeah.
Tommy. A lot has happened.
So I've heard that you like to start off your shows talking about nonsense.
I'm very pro nonsense.
So I bring some nonsense to this.
Hit me.
Okay, so have you heard of the Magic Pro League? Okay, sorry. That's a cheap shot. I didn't want to fill this full of cheap shots, but I did already right off the bat. Didn't mean to. Sorry about that.
The MPLOL? That's what I'm kind of calling it right now.
That's how you would view things if you only read Twitter today.
I think I'm going to take a more reasoned stance on things. It might make some people upset. I don't know. The best part about this conversation is I don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about that.
I know not knowing where things are going to go gets people really excited. And that's why we have so much to talk about.
You're 2 for 2. You're on fire. You're heating up. Excuse me. Not on fire. You're heating up right now.
I've also been told that people don't like spoilers. So
don't do that.
How the Magic organized play strategy ends.
Yes, we will just wait like everyone else. We don't want to spoil it, right? Today it's a Monday. It's 6:22 p.m. Pacific, 9:22 Eastern, where Tomcat is.
That's better.
They announced some things via announcement, and we have two new combatants, 2 new challengers, like a video game would say, into the Magic Pro League. One of them, I pronounce his name wrong every time. I believe it is Ceviche. It's not ceviche.
I will never order that.
Ceviche is good. What's wrong with you?
I go to restaurants to have my food cooked, and not cooked by pouring like orange juice on it or whatever nonsense they do. I don't care about chemical reactions. I want heat.
You're real fancy.
Yeah.
Real uppity fancy. And an easier name to pronounce it, Jessica Estefan. And Jessica, if I pronounce your last name wrong, I am very sorry.
And if you pronounce your name wrong, you are not qualified for the position you're trying to inhabit.
Which is saying people's names for a living out loud?
Yes.
You make a good point. You make a good point. These are our newest members of the Magic Pro League, as announced today by, I believe, Elaine Chase. And I'm going to do a little reading from this announcement, if you don't mind, Tommy.
Yeah, sure. Read to me.
Because words are something that I am supposed to be good at for what I do for a living. Our guiding principle for the MPL has been to iterate our way to a competitive system that ultimately offers more ways to play and watch for more players than ever before. When we launched the first year of the Magic Pro League, we did so knowing we would be learning and adapting to help shape the future of competitive Magic. Do we want to do this paragraph by paragraph, or should I keep going?
So they really say that lawyers use a lot of words and legalese and like that stuff's hard to follow, but that's, I mean, actual good lawyering, you kind of just say what you mean, so that the person can understand what you're saying, like, and the audience is usually the judge, so just use words that mean words. And I don't know what you just said really, because it's, I mean, I get that it's just like, it's kind of like corporate speak for bear with us.
It's corporate speak for they're still trying to figure out. They have a goal, which is to make Magic more accessible than ever before. But they're still figuring out how to get to that goal, is what I would take away from that.
None of those sentences said like "go screw yourself." Like they sounded aspirational and happy and nice. So that's a good start. But yeah.
All right, let's go
to the meat of it.
Let's do the next paragraph.
Yeah.
Along the way, the growth of MTG Arena is teaching us a lot about the depth and breadth of the Magic community, where Magic skill can be found, and who our community enjoys rooting for. The rise of MTG Arena has seen our community grow by leaps and bounds and provides us an opportunity to open our doors to top-tier talented players who demonstrated excellence and broaden the Magic community as a whole. What do you take away from that?
That's true and entirely inoffensive, and yeah. I mean, I don't have a lot to say about it. More players, it's good. Arena is a new thing that changes lots of stuff.
And it is growing by leaps and bounds, and they're trying to... I take away... the rise of MTG Arena has seen our community grow by leaps and bounds and provides us an opportunity to open our doors to top-tier talented players who demonstrate excellence and broaden the Magic community as a whole. So, one could argue, you could infer this, the top-tier talented players, there is no definition of what that is. It's a general statement, because there is no criteria.
What community is. Community could mean anything. You don't even have to play Magic to be part of the community.
That's also true. So, one could infer this many ways. Let's go to the next paragraph. Is his normal name easy to pronounce? Jan Savige McConan? I feel bad that I don't know how to pronounce his name, because I hate when people get my name wrong.
At least I'm not trying.
That's true. I apologize. All around embarrassing. I do apologize.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm Bill Simmons right now, just blowing people's names. Represents a new facet of talented high-level Magic play. He was the highest ranked challenger at the Mythic Invitational, true, and has reached the exclusive Mythic #1 ranking on MTG Arena, also true. A member of Team Liquid, Blank has been a Magic player for a decade and has an impeccable pedigree in competitive CCGs. He's demonstrated his ability to play esports at the highest level, and we believe he's more than up for the challenge of the MPL. Tommy, where do we go now?
I mean, that's a great bio for him. It's a little, I wouldn't say disingenuous. I mean, it's basically like having somebody who played a sport try another sport, or like if you said so and so was like had certain acting roles in movies, or Cassius Marsh plays football and we want him playing our game, then it's like, okay, great. You say what they're good at and what they've done, and what he's good at and has done are esports. But saying that it's because he was like super high ranked at the Invitational is tough, because as I've heard others point out, that the Invitational was something, I mean, he was selected for the Invitational as opposed to like competing in a tournament to get there. So it kind of builds in extra select, like we're saying we selected him because he did well at something we selected him for. So it's kind of circular.
That's true. I mean, this entire paragraph is justification for why he is in.
Full disclosure, I copied the deck that he took to Mythic #1, and played it in MCQ this last weekend, and started at 0-2, and rallied back to go 4-3 for no prize and no real chance at ever winning. And so maybe I'm biased.
And that's why you're not in the MPL.
That's right. Or number one on Arena, or good at other esports, or on Team Liquid, or Solid, or Mineral, or whatever.
So, you forgot Team Gas.
Well, that would actually be a nice team name for Magic.
So, that's justification for why Savid is in. He's on the squad, all that other stuff. For the record, I did meet him at the Mythic Invitational. He's very nice. We're not picking on him. At least I'm not. He appears to be a skilled Magic player and a skilled player in many realms, and that's awesome. And I think he does a lot of great game. I think he does a lot of great things for the game.
Also, potentially a super, super, super fast learner. I mean,
Also true.
I don't know his background in playing Magic, but I'm not familiar with him ever having played any like Grand Prix or Pro Tours or anything, and he's already like doing super well at things that put him in competition with people who have that experience.
We go to the next paragraph. We're thrilled to have Jessica Estefan as the first woman to join the MPL. She was the first woman to win a Grand Prix, had the highest number of pro points of any woman during this 2017-2018 season, and made a strong top 16 finish at the Mythic Invitational. She is also the first MPL player from Australia, a region that historically has fewer opportunities for high-level competitive play. She is an accomplished, talented player, and we're proud to have her representing the MPL. This is the sell job for Jessica as well, who, again, have no issues with. Congratulations to her. Super happy and proud of her. Met her at PAX East as well. Strikes me as a very good Magic player. This is very cool.
I wasn't aware that she had won a Grand Prix, probably because I actually haven't seen that like advertised a lot, and in particular, not like super advertised by her. It's not like part of her freaking Twitter profile or something like it might be for other people. So maybe she's also super humble.
She won a team Grand Prix in Australia. I did find it a little bit interesting where they said a region that historically has fewer opportunities for high level competitive play because that's kind of up to them.
Yeah, that's actually a nice point. I had not thought about that.
So I mean, I get why it has less because you can't really get there and it's isolated.
She's done well even despite everything we've done to her.
Yeah, yeah. So, like pointing that out is just kind of like, well, you guys kind of decide how much high level competitive play is there. But again, that's neither here nor there. Okay, so that's kind of the opening for the introduction of this article. And so far, it's like, okay, sure, I'm with you. I get what's going on here. You've made. Let's go ahead.
I was just gonna say these are the people we're adding, and these are us spinning their accomplishments in the best possible light to show that they will be like sufficient competition is how they're put it.
Correct. All right, let's go to the inclusion and additional invitations. The lack of inclusion and diversity in esports and competitive gaming, especially when it comes to women, is an embedded, long-standing issue. With the MPL and MTG Arena opening up the playing field in a big way, we want to state no uncertain terms, that we know the pool of talent is broad and that we think it should be represented in a concrete way to the viewers and fans of competitive Magic. The barriers women face when attempting to play competitively are significant. The MPL is making a purposeful effort to remove barriers and invite a slate of accomplished players who more fully represent the complete Magic community. To further this goal, the MPL is adding 16 discretionary slots to each of the MTG Arena Mythic Championships for the 2019 season. These discretionary slots will be used to invite a broader representation of the Magic competitive community to high-level play. These 16 slots are in addition to the existing MPL prior performance and direct qualification slots. Both Savid and Estefan will join the MPL. Splits currently in progress Splits currently in progress and will play makeup matches in the upcoming weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Tom, it is your turn to speak.
So many of these things are new. They didn't announce anything about. Obviously, they didn't really say anything with representation about the MPO when it first started, except to the extent that they believe that a player who did not agree or did not sign the contract and agreed to participate in the MPL was, I believe, somebody from the same region. I believe continental Asia, non-Japan. Basically was selected to fill that spot based as opposed to the next person on the pro points. So they actually did kind of have representation in mind as far as their traditional Euro, APAC, Latin America divisions that they seem to have, that they've held on to for a while. But those are new interests that this is the first time that they are expressing these interests to the public as far as the makeup of the MPL. And that is what made me ask you earlier today if you like Lost, the show. Yeah.
If I like the
This
show
will go
Lost,
somewhere.
a show that
Unlike Lost.
I believe I've seen an episode or two with my father, so I've not seen very much of it. I know that it was highly regarded, but it did not end particularly well.
So what's the show that you like that like they were kind of flying by the seat of their pants, it feels like, when they were making this show like kind of wrap up at the end?
Dexter.
Okay. How was the quality of the last season?
The last season of Dexter borders on being unwatchable.
Okay. So I know that you don't follow Game of Thrones right now, really.
Oh, spoiler warnings or no?
No spoilers at all.
Okay.
No spoilers. But I don't think it's a spoiler to say that you don't follow Game of Thrones personally.
That's not a spoiler. No, that's clear for takeoff.
So, do you follow the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
I do. The MCU. I'm a big fan.
Yes. Okay. So when no spoilers, because I personally haven't seen Endgame, but you might have to tell me without saying anything about what happens in Endgame.
Okay.
When they produced them, and maybe consider Infinity War in this too. When they made Infinity War and Endgame, do you think that they 2 years ago decided we're going to make these movies and then decided what would happen in the movies 2 years ago?
No, I'm led to believe they probably decided that a while ago.
Oh, a while ago, maybe like almost freaking 15 years ago, basically, or 11 years, I think it's been.
It was probably plotted out over the course of, I think the entire thing that the MCU did was probably plotted out many years ago.
Yes. Okay. So that is the exact word that I recently considered when I read a very elaborate Twitter thread about the explanations of Game of Thrones and why it feels different. It's by D Silvermint, at D Silvermint on Twitter, someone I don't know. But he wrote about plotters versus pantsers, pantsers being flying by the seat of the pants. And so, like, obviously, a plotter would make a super big outline saying, this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen next. They know their beginning, they know their end, and they know all these intervening important events, like, the whole time. So, like, they know that there will be this Avengers movie and then another Avengers movie, and in between it, there'll be the Civil War. Like, they know all the big seminal events of the universe. That's the MCU.
Okay.
And then pantsers, he says, discover the story as they write it, often treating the first draft like one big elaborate outline. And they generally have an easier time writing realistic characters because they generate the plot by asking themselves, what would this person do or think next in the dramatic situation in which I've dropped them? They are making it up as they go along. In a Craven sense, sometimes they are just making up the big events too, and they're different smoke monsters or whatever the heck happened in Dexter or in 24, and all these things that just go entirely off the rails. And then at the very end, they're left with 6 episodes that they're calling season 8 of Game of Thrones, trying to figure out how to get exactly to the end and wrap up every storyline.
Okay.
So the way that I tie this all back, and I actually do kind of like Game of Thrones right now because I just like that everything's happening, even though if I understand it's rushed. The thing that I'm getting to now is that the things that are being announced are not things where the seeds were laid for this really to happen earlier. Even when the Mythic Invitational was announced, we kind of had to infer everything. They just gave us individual profiles of people and said, this is why this person's great. But they didn't say, this is the universe that we're creating as far as our idea of what this competition, the Mythic Invitational, is going to represent for us. They just wanted things to be exciting. And they kind of plucked people from different spots and plucked replacements and etc. They're flying by the seat of their pants. They're introducing these new things because at the very beginning they said, oh, it's top 32 pro points. And you didn't have to explain which Grand Prix like John Rolfe had won, and like all his experiences in other esports or different teams that he had, because you could just say he's number 8. He's number 8 in pro points, so he's in. And then they did come up with an ad hoc like solution to a couple people not signing on that kept them from, they actually dodged number 33 and number 34, I think. But yeah, this is all flying by the seat of their pants. And I think that neither approach is bad necessarily, depending on what you're doing. This isn't the right thing to be doing, I don't think, with that. Like, I'm not sure that they know where they are in a year.
I'm not sure they know where they are in a year either, which is why they haven't announced the criteria to qualify for the MPL next year.
Yeah. And so that is tough because we're not just like we're not just assuming this grand creator knows everything and is unfolding announcements and telling us what's coming next on a schedule that's right for them. And also we're affected because maybe people have to book flights. I know that some people, do you know the location of the Arena Mythic Championship?
Oh, I do not.
I'm not, as of a couple days ago, I don't think that the participants did, or some of the participants didn't, at least ones that I talked to. So like and yeah, like that's tough. So this isn't the right approach for the stakeholders that they have, I don't think. And so that's my,
I guess my,
even without talking about the practical criteria, like, which is a whole nother thing.
Sure. So I think the thing that makes this situation kind of interesting is I think they didn't know, well, how do I want to say this? I don't think they knew that Arena was going to get this popular this quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are trying to adjust to this popularity this quickly, assuming that is the right thing to do, which is, oh man, this thing is super popular. We need to use this thing and drive more eyes and traffic towards this thing. So let's make a thing that accomplishes that thing.
Which is kind of what I might speculate is how they came up with the Silver Showcase, based off of the like beta draft that was held originally at, I don't know, like Origins or some tournament that was at a con. Remember that?
It was at Gen Con.
Okay, so they did this thing at Gen Con. It was much more successful on Twitch than people expected. And then we had the Silver Showcase. I believe that was kind of an outgrowth of that.
That strikes me as correct.
Which doesn't really make me super confident in improvisation as the answer to even if it's unexpected great news. I'm not satisfied with improvisation in this area.
I would agree with that. But I think honestly right now organized play is all improvisation, which is I think why most people this is it. I don't know if this is a vocal minority or not. I follow who I follow on Twitter, and competitive players are not the large percentage of Magic players, as I think we all know at this stage. And if you didn't know, you know now. It's actually a very small percentage, though they are vocal. But it's also because those are the people that I'm associated with, and those are the people that I follow on Twitter. So it doesn't mean that their frustration isn't justified, but you'd think about like, who is this impacting? How many people is this impacting? So on and so forth. The number is non-zero, but it's not the large percentage of their customer base. That said, I mean, I don't even know where to begin with the steps of trying to fix this, assuming that there is a fix, or even what the goals are.
So the question is also, what are the problems? What are you even trying to fix? So like one, as far as the MPL, there's obviously the business side as far as what it does for them as far as gaining viewership and eventually getting money. But as far as how it was seen by and marketed to the players, the MPL was actually going to be like an introduction of stability for the first time into like the life of a professional Magic player, at least for 32 of them, right? Like they have a salary as opposed to hoping that they continue to have good years, like every year unrelentingly, and have to go to every Grand Prix and stuff like that. Like this was going to change things. And I think that it's not making people feel very stable yet.
I think I agree with that. I think if its goal was to provide stability for the 32 players that are in the MPL, it has not done that because you don't know what your life looks like at the end of this year.
I mean, like Bertu, Lucas Esper Berthode. I can't pronounce last names either, but that's not my job, like it is yours. But you should know how to say it because he's in the MPL. How do you say it? Lucas Esper
I,
what? Lucas Esper what?
I just
Starts with a B.
Berthoud. That's not correct, by the way. It's
No,
not Berthoud.
Bertu is
It's
how I know
Berthoud.
him.
It's Berthoud.
Okay, I know Bertu. I know that is a word. That's his Twitter handle also. So, but
Yeah, with a lot of views.
he just posted something about how like he's reevaluating what competitive magic means to him, and he's in the MPL, and I don't think just on the fringe, like solidly in it, and it's just like turbulence is taking a toll on everybody.
I think that's true, and Jerry just left the MPL as well, which I'm sure we'll get to at some point. I guess I'm weirdly I don't really even know what side I stand on, assuming there's a side to stand on. But I think I see this stuff, right, and it's just like, well, okay, they are. It's May 13th. I don't remember when the MPL actually got like announced and all that stuff, but let's, for the sake of example, call it Jan 1. Okay,
Okay.
we're 5 months into this. It was obviously rushed and thrown together. So, what should one's expectation be for those who are in the MPL?
I don't need them to have an 11-year plan. Well, really, first of all, I don't need them to have anything. Like I'm not going to be in the MPL, and I'm not exactly aspiring to, but I do want it from a like because I know many of the people in it, and I know many of the people who aspire to be in it, or who motivated by something existing like this. That we want it to be stable once you get there. We want it to be something that there are like it's clearly set out how you get into it, and you want. Actually, I'm not even sure if there's a third thing. Like you want to know how to get there, and you want to know what happens when you are there, and then you want to know how to stay there. Okay, those are the three things. And I'm not certain on any. Well, I'm certain what happens when you are in it. Now that the MPL weekly match play has happened, although I believe that's probably subject to change also because they're still experimenting with like the different reward systems and things.
Yeah,
Though I have to give them credit that this announcement came after the MPL like weekly match play as opposed to before. And sometimes I have criticized them, sometimes directly to employees, saying like, "Hey, like you can't get out of your own way the night before an event." So at least this happened like 2 days after an event.
yeah. I mean, that's a step.
Yeah, but
That's
yeah.
a step.
How do you get there? What do you do to stay there? What do you get when you're there? They're getting closer on the what you get when you're there. I'm not sure, like it's not clear at all what the other things are. And I think a bunch of people think that this just tossed like a Molotov cocktail into what they thought was the way to get to the MPL, which was solely sustained success in premier level events.
So okay, so that's the first thing that I want to like touch on, because you can correct me if I'm wrong, and presumably you know the answer to this, but have they ever announced that success, like sustained success in high level events, to get you into the MPL, or is that what people elected to infer?
Probably in probably infer based off of the formation of it at the outset, which was based on pro points, which are the result of
Okay.
sustained success. I note that it was in particular sustained success via pro points. It was not just did you win a pro tour, so it's not just all platinums are in it. Only certain people who are platinum by the nature of the number of pro points that they got are in the MPL.
Okay. Now, I'm not saying that people like by inferring that, okay, you take a look at the people that are in it and you say, okay, like it appears as though all these people have performed at the highest level and have done very, very well, and that's why they are in the MPL. I think your initial MPL announcement, sure, you can infer that with the people that were placed into the MPL, the 32 players, and the people who missed out, and say this is how you get into the MPL, right? Even though I don't think it was like explicitly announced, and I could be incorrect about that.
Correct.
However,
Yeah, I don't. I also have that impression, and yeah, think about if they had not. Think about if they had said something more about what it would be in the future. Like if they just said they were doing this one time to figure it out. Like you're managing expectations, though at the same time, people would also probably have freaked out then.
Yes. So then I think to myself, well, let's look at the Mythic Invitational, which was like a tournament that they announced was going to be happening, but like they didn't really say anything about it
for a bit. Yeah.
And then, like, you see who's invited. They have this MPL versus Challenger system, and you can qualify and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So then if I take if I take a step back and I think to myself, okay, so how do I qualify for these biggest tournaments that are taking place in Magic now? I'll say the biggest, newest tournaments that are taking place in the arena space. It's be a member of the MPL, which means you've performed at a very high level. It's be a challenger, which means that you have done certain unique things. Popular streamer, popular personality, maybe fulfill a racial niche that they're looking for. I don't know, right? And then there are the people who qualified via grinding, like Zachary Kinney and a couple other people. And so they have earned their way there. And like that's how they comprise their 64 players, if memory serves.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the Invitational, which is not part of professional play, apparently, which they said a couple times eventually towards the end.
Correct. But if you want to qualify for a big arena style tournament, now the goalpost has changed, in my opinion, to not only is being one of the best an option, but perhaps it is having a large following, having a large personality. You obviously can't change the race that you are if that matters. But or as far as I know, technology is a crazy thing. And in the avenues that allow you to qualify for it via grinding arena, there will also be those that are potentially present. So it's like, okay, but that's also a unique tournament, and you don't know if other tournaments going to look that way. Then they announced the Arena Tabletop the Arena Mythic Championships, and how you can like grind your way into various tournaments. After grinding on Arena, you get to qualify for various tournaments to qualify for those.
Yes, I ground in, but I'm not going to play because I likely am not going to play because I'm choosing to go to Grand Prix Providence instead. If we do real bad, real fast as a group, then I and I guess Ari, who's also on my team, and will have done really bad, real fast, will be able to play in that.
Okay. So it is rewarding playing and being like top 1,000 to qualify for like the bigger tournaments and everything else. Okay. Great. Good to know. So now you've kind of got, these moving goalposts and all these other things for various different types of tournaments that you're all learning on the fly because I think they're deciding them on the fly. Okay. So everyone's in the same situation. Everything is being decided on the fly. And I understand the frustration in that. Absolutely. But I wouldn't say that would you say that like this is favoring one person over the other or anything like that?
No, I'm actually I've tried to, and this is kind of a cheat code for being able to deal with life and other people. Considering others' perspectives from their eyes, which is different than inferring. But so if I worked at Wizards and I was in charge of the MPL and I got to choose who's in the MPL, it would look a lot different. And the question would be like, okay, how different does it look from right now? And yeah, I don't think that it is favoring exactly who I would choose based off of what I believe my priorities would be in that position of deciding it. Now, also note that that's not the same as saying, oh, well, you have to be okay with whatever WotC does because they're a company. I hate being told that they're a company. Oftentimes, it's not even spelled correctly with the right use of their or are even. They're our company.
But I thought I'd let you know that they're a company and they can do whatever they want.
No, that's not the same thing as thinking what do they or should they want the MPL to be, and what's the best thing for them to have it be, and what is the most successful version of the MPL. Which, by the way, isn't top 32 pro points. Because guess what? You think that if the NBA couldn't choose to just freaking put LeBron on a team right now, that they wouldn't in the playoffs? Are you kidding? Like,
Yeah, of course they would.
that's the thing, is that when you set up this pretty arbitrary, only performance based thing, as a company, you're risking the results not turning out the way that you want them to. Like, because
As opposed to just choosing who you want to have.
yeah, like Wizards is relying on the people. Like, I remember when they like did a good coverage of Reed Duke for the whole Grand Prix, and he lost playing for top 8. Like, wow, is that lucky? What if he had just like done? I can't remember if it was constructed or limited, but what if he just gotten a horrible deck, chosen a horrible deck, which sometimes he does in Modern. Usually it's green black, but like, what if he had just like flushed down the toilet of like day 1 in round 6? Like, wow.
For the record, he was playing Legacy at Grand Prix Richmond, and he was playing Grixis Control.
Okay. Yeah,
I do remember actually.
Yeah,
I was not really in favor of that decision, mostly because Seth and Luis Salvato were also there,
yeah.
also competing for Player of the Year. And while I get that Reed is a huge personality and I'm a huge Reed Duke fan, like there's multiple people that are involved in that storyline.
Yeah, but they lucked out. Like, they had something extremely compelling just because the risk paid off. Like, with him losing playing for top 8, and neither Seth nor Salvato like jumping him and top 8ing. You know, like the risk worked out perfectly. Like, if the NFL could choose like the outcomes and to tell the best story at like throughout the season in the Super Bowl, they probably wouldn't have the Patriots win like every other year. Or they would, but it would lead up to something as opposed to just existential dread like it does for everyone else who's not in Boston.
That's legitimate.
Or if WWE could choose what they were doing, then maybe their product would be good. But apparently they have no control over anything that they do or what they put on television at all.
They really have no say in how things go.
And Wizards has this opportunity to actually like craft stories and curate their entertainment and whatever other stupid influencer words you want to use. But no, they can like, they didn't, if they wanted somebody who was like fitting in the middle of the Venn diagram for streaming and like Magic credentials and everything, like they didn't pluck Nassif out of nowhere or LSV, who would both be in there. Like, they're serving the purposes that they are using the MPL to fulfill right now, as of today, aren't just pure craven entertainment. Because if I was doing it with that goal in mind, which I would be, it would have totally like very, very different people in it.
Well, to me, in a weird way, I think that is a thing that they're trying to do now.
Well, they may be trying to do that without giving the appearance of doing that, but
correct. So,
and the appearance of it, they want the appearance of it to be very legitimate, but they have other masters to serve.
Yeah, so like, you know, when they initially did the MPL with the top 32 players, okay, sure, top 32 pro points, whatever. And then they did the Mythic Invitational where they could have just went, okay, top 64 pro points. And these are the other 32 people against the MPL. You could have very easily seen like top 32 pro points versus the top 33 through 64, and 33 through 64 are the challengers that are trying to get into the MPL, right?
Yeah. Oh, I do have a hot
But instead, they opted to go a different way entirely.
I do have a hot take, and it's a somewhat controversial take, and I'll probably have to add a bunch of qualifiers to it. So whoever's listening, just assume all the qualifiers, and I don't mean this to be mean or bad to anybody. But if you are platinum, and I guess the qualifier that if you're like an American and you are platinum and people don't really know you, like you're not well known at all, you're on that list of MPL players that Cedric couldn't recognize when Jerry was reading them off to him, then you're doing a bad job as a professional Magic player.
That's your hot take?
I guess so. I just said the word bad to describe another person. That's like basically as hot as it gets.
I just think that's a correct take.
Well, like, yeah, like it's kind of like the NBA players who complain about ever having to give interviews and they don't respect the media at all. It's like, hey, like this is part of your job.
It's part of the job. You don't have to like that part of the job, but it's part of the job.
Professional Magic player is, for a while, has been a kind of weird self-employment, but taking advantage of these opportunities that are available But yeah, like if you're not at least promoting yourself enough to be like recognized, either you're like first your name to be recognized, and then for like who you are at a Magic tournament to be recognized. Like, come on, you're really not taking advantage of platinum or treating like professional Magic play. Like these are skills you need to have, or things you need to do, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that, the more people that move in, the more people that are in the MPL, I think, have to be those larger personalities that help promote the game and all this other stuff. It's not going to be the thing that I think some people want it to be, which is I just want to play Magic against the best people. Okay, that's nice, but like that's
Well, who's
not
the best
what.
people? Is are the top 32 in pro points the 32 best Magic players? I don't know.
Maybe yes, maybe
I
no.
mean, I would probably say no because like there's people I don't know, like what God was LSV on that and he said no or like I mean
No, he wasn't in it. I mean, like John's not in it.
yeah, like a lot of people would say that they're important. Like I bet a lot of people would like to see Finkel play at least in one of these things. Like just ship him to the MPL for a week, right? Like
I mean, it wouldn't hurt. I mean,
if,
ideally,
if
you would
you have
have.
him in the
I think you would have John in this type of thing.
if Finkel like sat down tomorrow and was like, "Hey, like I'm getting ready for next week's MPL," like, do you think that he would be one of the top 32 Magic players in the world at that time? Like, if he's given his full attention, probably.
But again, this also just kind of depends on what you want, what you want this whole thing to
Are the
be, which is like kind of the larger, which is kind of like just the larger question of all of this is just what is this thing supposed to be?
are the four Pro Tour are all the Pro Tour winners in a year the best Magic players? Should they automatically be in? They do auto get platinum. Yeah, like even just saying best, like people, if you just say I want the best players, okay, well, I don't know who that is even. Like I think
Yeah, I mean, best is completely
a lot of
arbitrary.
people could agree on first 10, maybe, but like, and I have the view that after the first 10 or 15 or 20, like, you could probably give me like the 15 best Magic players. Like, if you fill out with another 15 or 17 people who are good Magic players and maybe able to be the best Magic player in the room, the best performing Magic player in the room on one day, like it already has enough legitimacy. Like, give me the top 15 and it has enough legitimacy. It's a legitimate enterprise. I mean, the best player doesn't win every Pro Tour.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I guess you can say it's the best. It's the best by this criteria.
Well, so even basically what I'm saying is that even by the people who, even if you say that you need to have an objective criteria and this needs to be more objective, okay, well, you can't even do that.
Sure.
You can't say objective
So
and then say best. Like,
sure. So I mean, yeah, it's so basically, what you're arguing is, well, it sounds like what you're arguing.
best
Correct me if
pizza.
I'm wrong.
We have the best pizza in DC. The best.
Well, it says so on the sign.
Yeah, it says so on the sign. That the legal term for that, by the way, is puffery. You just learned something.
Puffery.
Puffery. You can say that you have the best pizza in the world, and a better pizza place cannot sue you for saying that you have the best pizza in the world because that is mere puffery. But go on.
Thank you. I learned something. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So what it sounds like to me is that the MPL should just be 32 players that they select to do this thing.
Responsibly select.
Okay, that's a totally fine qualifier.
I mean, if it doesn't mean anything, but like they I don't know, like it needs to be compelling and responsible, and they probably shouldn't um, tell people that there's criteria that you can't look at. But guess what? Like I don't know, like they're picking winners and losers. It's tough. Like not everybody's gonna be happy. Like if the if the invitational had been 100 people, like there'd be plenty of people who are unhappy about the snubs. Which
Yeah, I mean, it's like watching a team get snubbed from the NCAA thing,
yeah,
right?
and a snub isn't always a real thing because pick the person who shouldn't be in there then. Like I don't know a lot about like Jean Emmanuel Depraz, but I'm like he had enough pro points that year and he was really good. So like I don't know that I can just dismiss him as not entertaining or good. I haven't seen him play. So yeah, like to also snub like when you if you're saying that so and so shouldn't be in there, then you're also having to pick a, you need to remove someone to add someone. You need to add someone to remove someone, which gets us to I of the two. not to single anybody out, but of the two new people announced today, which is the more controversial to you? Hearthstone or diversity?
I don't really know.
Hearthstone or diversity? We can reduce it to single word.
I don't know.
Is diversity good? Yeah.
Should I say no as a black person? No, it's bad. I hate it.
Is reach in the community of esports bad?
Strikes me as good.
Is being popular good or bad? Is that a good value?
It strikes me as good for the purposes of this.
When I say
it strikes me as good.
So when I say reach within the esports community, I'm using press release speak, and when I say popular, I'm using actual words.
You're using normal speak.
Yeah. Diversity borders on. I mean, diversity is both, which is interesting as far and which, by the way, like it's interesting that we lack. I mean, Sperling. I like briefly read what he wrote today, and it's basically about like we're gonna have to get better about talking about diversity and what earning it means. And we really lack the vocabulary for talking about diversity, at least like American English and American society in 2019, which goes along with some thoughts that I've been having the other day about like all the things that we don't like talking about, we lack the vocabulary to adequately discuss. So like cheating in Magic, like I was thinking about that because of Yuya, and it's like, okay, like remember, I think Saito got banned for like slow play. What's slow play that gets a warning versus slow play that gets a DQ versus slow play that gets a ban? Like, or if you're more prurient and interested in stuff that is super controversial and landmine material, when you are going to discuss sexual harassment and sexual assault and rape, like what fits into those categories and can you actually express any of those categories? And when you say sexual harassment, like does the person that you're talking to know exactly what you're talking about and even agree that the behavior that you're discussing fits in the linguistic category you're discussing? It's tough. But yeah, we're going to like diversity is a goal, and how you achieve it is difficult and interesting and controversial.
I think it's super interesting and controversial. I think ultimately it's a very good goal to have, but how does one accomplish and achieve that goal? I think is a different conversation entirely, and one I don't even know where to begin with. I mean, I think to me this feels like a step in the right direction, and it's not like, I mean, I think Jess is a really good Magic player, and in a weird way, like this, I think this is great for her, but like it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of pressure,
right?
A lot of pressure, a lot of detractors.
And that's the aspect of it that I actually kind of hate is she's like kind of carrying this burden now. That in a weird way, it's like if she does poorly, it's a bunch of people are going to be like, "I told you so."
Yeah, like Andrew Cuneo, I don't think has as much like riding on it for society as like, yeah, he's not like, I don't think everybody is going to be like hyper examining like every single thing that he does. But yeah, she like a lot of her games are going to be seen as a referendum. A lot of her games and matches are going to be seen as referendums on issues, which is psychotic. But
yeah, I mean, I think that the inclusion of both these people is correct, but it's weird, right? Because had this happened, had the MPL had these goals from the start, because obviously the goals have changed.
Yeah.
Had the MPL had these goals at the start and we were just picking people like we were for the Mythic Invitational, I think we're probably in a better place. But now that you're trying to correct, for lack of a better term, like correct everything,
Yeah.
or it's like course correcting itself because people are being eliminated from the MPL or quitting the MPL, and then you have to fill these spots.
Like nobody freaks out over like, wow, can you believe that they set aside an invite to Worlds last year for the APAC champion for like most pro points in Latin America and APAC, and they have these like geographic designations, but there isn't one for Africa or Australia. Like Nobody questions that. We're just used to it. Like, I think that maybe they should have some MP, like they're kind of doing this with the arena championship, but like arena mythic championship, but they're putting in like, yeah, maybe you just have a couple at large spots, give some people like shorter contracts, try new people out. Like introduce a little wild card into it. Have you ever heard of something called the wild card rule?
I'm getting familiar with the wild card rule. That's 2 WWE references in one podcast.
Well, just give someone like a 3 months and obviously not the full 75K or whatever, but like give them 3 months and like rotate it through whoever you want.
So obviously, what comes along with that obviously is people saying, well, why is this person getting the spot and everything like that? I mean, do you care about that?
Somebody else is going to get it 3 months from now, so whatever, right? Like, okay, and then 3 months after that, somebody else, and we're just picking whoever. I don't know. Have there be an MPL spot for a Wizards employee, like ship Andrew Brown or Michael Majors or Melissa Del Toro playing against these people. These people, the MPL. Who do they think they are? Okay, so, yeah, sorry, off a little. I haven't eaten dinner, and I was thinking about eating the MPL.
Oh, you're getting very hungry?
Gonna eat the MPL.
That sounds delicious and nutritious.
Yeah, I just think that for an enterprise that like they really chose the most straightforward, kind of boring metric, 32, like top 32 pro points, for them to be introducing change into it. Also, not at a very specific. I mean, not that they really had a choice for the replacements, but like not at a specific time frame where they see like in a year from now. I think they might be a little more authorized to change their objectives. Well, really, they would be authorized. It would be taken a lot better if they announced now that in 6 months from now they would be filling the MPL based on certain objectives, and then they would lay those out, and then people would have notice on which to act and act accordingly as far as like if they want to be a streamer or if they want to accumulate as many mythic points, which I've heard are really important, or all the like people could act accordingly and rationally based on the incentives placed to them, and just nobody has any idea what those are. So all anybody can do is not be happy because it's not fitting what they want to be.
Yeah, I mean, the lack of knowing how to be involved with this is obviously, I think, the most frustrating thing for people. Though I think unsurprisingly, some of the takes have just been completely wild all day long. And have been like somewhat frustrating because I think that like some people just kind of want to pile on and be like,
the judges sabotaged it.
Sure.
Yeah, the judges sabotaged the Magic Pro League because the Magic Pro League doesn't need judges, and so they're throwing wrenches into the arena servers as we speak. Probably.
I guess what I think is interesting is just like I don't know, man. Like there's a lot of people that want to know like what this is and how to qualify for it and all this other stuff. And like obviously you'd like to have that laid out, but in a weird way, it's just like they don't know yet. And if they just came out and said they didn't know yet, that would probably be better than saying nothing.
You notice how difficult it is to be positive right now about this? Not that you are only exclusively negative, because you can be negative and you can be neutral and you can be like kind of like hypothesizing and everything, but you can't be super positive, or at least the conversation around like the changes and the vision for the Magic Pro League can't be positive because there's just no information.
Well, it just keeps changing what they want it to be.
And whoever fills in the lack of information with a best case scenario, nobody ever thinks of the best case scenario. I'm taking this trip to Europe. What's the best thing that could happen? No, I just heard this stuff in the news about airplanes. It's probably really good. When I take this flight, the best thing is going to happen. Yeah, even quicker.
I'm going to get to where I'm going even quicker. It's weird. I like this has just been on my mind all day, like just going through all this stuff.
That means you're going to have to give us some positive stuff from the trenches of the MPL, which you casted. Is that commented? Conversated?
I conversated on.
You commented on it?
I did commentary upon.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Yeah, that's your job.
I mean, it was fine, but From my perspective,
blown away.
what? What?
Can you at least say fine like you're Richard Hagen?
I can't. I'm not good with accents. It was fine. It was, but the frustration that people are feeling outside was, a little thing that was a little frustrating doing it, just because there's still some things that are being worked out.
Yeah.
Like it was the first show, so there were some things they wanted to do that didn't work out the way they wanted them to. Most notably, the highlights of some of the games just didn't really come together, I think, the way that they had envisioned. But covering full games was totally fine, and the product was good. The lack of knowing what a mythic point is, as frustrating it is for the players, it's also difficult to communicate to an audience when we also can't really tell you what it is.
How many do you have?
But currently, I think I'm sitting with 0 still.
Okay.
But I feel a huge heater coming on soon.
Depending on how much they're worth, that could be really good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what 10-5s get you in Grand Prix nowadays.
You want like -2.
I don't think I want negative mythic points.
Are you familiar with a widget? What a widget is?
I am familiar with what a widget is.
Okay, what is it?
I don't know. It's like a little tool or a toy or something small.
What's it do?
That seems like a trick question. I don't know.
That's right. It is a placeholder name. In economics, it's just a placeholder name for an abstract unit of production. It's just a thing. It's just what you use in your hypos. Like, that's what we did in law school also. Like, same thing, like, like so-and-so is producing widgets. We've got a widget producer. What's a widget? It's anything. It's just a small gadget. Doesn't have a name. Doesn't have a purpose. It's nothing. Just move on. It doesn't matter what they're making. Like, that's what they have to tell people in freaking law school. Like, because there's actually a couple people who will raise their hand and like dispute the facts when it's a hypothetical, and the professor can change the facts at any time. So like there was something where we were learning about causation, and it's like you're driving and you're in the rain and then your brakes fail, but then you get struck by lightning and then like you hit a tree, and then this kid in the back raises his hand and the professor like asks what he wants to know, and he says, "That's not how lightning works." Well, so the issue, and obviously she says, yeah, it's my hypothetical. Would it be better if like a piano falls out of the sky? I don't care. That's a widget, and that's also a mythic point right now. Point is a small gadget or mechanical device whose name is unknown and whose purpose is unspecified. How many do you have? All I know is that I want a ton.
But you don't know how many. You just know you need a bunch.
If you ask what they are, it doesn't matter. I don't care how lightning works. And the kid was like a freaking engineer, like, or physicist or something. Like, he actually knew how lightning worked. But that doesn't matter for the hypothetical, and that's what mythic points are. I don't.
At least for right now.
I don't believe in them yet. So you have to talk me into it.
Okay, I can work on that in the next show that I do, assuming there is a next one after this podcast.
How many points did they pay you?
I cannot disclose that information.
Okay. Confidential contract terms. Okay.
Confidential. Hashtag
So
sponsored.
there's a bit to go as far as filling the information void. Neither of us are aware that the people who have been selected for the MPL today, Jess and Mr. S, we don't believe that they're terrible people, awful, horrible bigots. They seem like upstanding members of the community who are good at Magic and have won more Grand Prix and arena matches than either of us.
Correct.
And one of the funny things is that there's actually a lot of like there's always going to be more negativity than positivity in tweets, but there's like a divide by zero error when it comes to who should be in instead. Like, there's 100 people objecting to a person being included, but again, nobody, like, it's like a widget is the person that didn't get selected.
Yeah, just somebody else.
Yeah, it's like, okay, tell me who. And I guess it's it's LSV and Nassif, like potentially. Like, who else would you have? Who else would you really want to be in the MPL right now?
I don't know. I mean, there's a bunch of people I could pick.
Yes, like, I mean, as far like it's kind of like Hall of Fames. Like I don't know. There's so much like
Well, but the problem is my version of the MPL is different than your version of the MPL, which is different than Joe Blow's version of the MPL, which is different than Sally's
yeah, I
version of
really
the
think the
MPL.
MPL would benefit again from like not the 11-year plan, but it would be nice like they're I mean, I guess they admitted it that they're still learning their vision for everything, and I don't know if they use the word vision, but like something. They're learning a lot right now based on engagement and influencing viewers and things, and I guess we'll just figure it out. But again, I'd love to have one of these dispatches come through where we know so much.
Yeah, but I think the problem is like as I'm sitting here talking through this, and you're sitting here talking through this about like what we think it should be or what we think it would be, or so on and so forth. You know, like I don't even feel like I'm getting
Yeah,
anywhere with like what I think, because like again, what I want this to be, or excuse me, what I think this should be is wildly different than maybe what it actually should be, assuming one knows what it actually
yeah,
should be and what they want it to be. And again, I don't even know if they know what they want it to be outside of we want to get more, like it's a customer retention tool, presumably, but it could also be a customer acquisition tool. And those two things are different.
wait, what is Wizard of the Coast?
I think it rhymes with mumpany
Oh, okay, good.
because like the people that I would want to use for customer acquisition are different than the people that I'd want to use for customer retention
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
MPL. Like if I'm looking at customer like acquisition, it's like, yo, throw me like a Caleb Durward in there. He's a super popular streamer. Like, throw me like a New Montanami in there or something like that. But like for retention, maybe I do want like Ray Sato and some other players that are like lesser known but really important in their regions, for the people who play Magic in their region. You know?
yeah, man. It's like this is as bad as MVP debates and like All Star Weekend events and like man, it's just difficult to figure out who in the system of Magic players you want to reward the most because it's even tough to tell sometimes what the most important behavior and actions are. And I get like I think we agree that tournament success is one of them, and it's just not the only one. Is that the greatest revelation that there will be for a lot of people?
Tournament success is one of them, but like, you know, how do you weigh that as opposed to other things? I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking to myself, should tournament success be the end all be all to be a part of this thing? I really do not think so.
It's also tough because like traditionally tournament success has meant first place and second place you're last. And it's like, okay, well, like the person who has 3 seconds is got a lot more pro points at least. I don't know how many mythic points, but way more pro points than one first. And like, well, like, do people know and identify more with the person who got one first or the person who got 3 seconds? I think you do a
I
better
don't know.
job with the 3 seconds and the sustained success, which I guess means that yeah, like they constructed the MPL not like it was Worlds, but like it was just pro points, like it was platinum as opposed to Worlds.
But and the thing that's kind of interesting about this too is like that's weirdly why, like, you know, there was a lot of people obviously on social today that were like super mad and frustrated about all this other stuff, and it's like I'm not that at all.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't.
It's not even because it doesn't have an effect on me, because anything Magic related has an effect on me. But it's like, okay, what is it supposed to be? Answer that. Like very angry, upset person. Like, what is this thing supposed to be that's supposed to be ideal?
Well, shit, people weren't even supposed to be leaving it. I'm pretty sure when they picked 32 people, they thought it would be 32 people a year from now, the same people. So like all these changes for the people who are added are gravy because it's not like anyone thought they were getting in May.
Yeah, I agree. And then, you know, there's all these people that are just like, you know, I'm gonna stop playing competitive Magic now. And it's like, why?
Yeah, tell me about that. You had a good point on that.
Well, it's just like why I don't understand why one would stop playing competitive Magic now.
Can you still succeed in competitive Magic right now?
I
Can
mean,
you
it depends on your definition of success.
can you still accomplish your goals?
I don't think this is doing so. Someone, let me see. Someone,
This is gonna be the last thing, so you're gonna have to make this like a Sorkin like West Wing closing monologue.
this is going to be the last thing.
Yeah, I think so. Right? This is a good bow
Yeah,
tie on it.
yeah. I mean, so Nick Prince posted on Twitter that me in 2018, I want to top 8 a Grand Prix. I want to qualify for a Pro Tour. I want to stay qualified for the Pro Tour. I want to hit a pro level. I want to get on a team or start a team. I want ellipses. Me in 2019, I want to be given a reason to keep playing competitive Magic so much. Anything that has happened that is MPL related has not changed his ability, in my opinion, to accomplish any of those goals that he had in 2018. Assuming that there was just a top 8 last weekend in Madison. We had 8 people play in top 8 it, and someone won it. There are still people qualifying for Pro Tours all the time. There are people who are qualifying for Pro Tours and staying qualified for Pro Tours. There are people that are still hitting pro levels, and those pro levels are going to change in some fashion. Don't know where that is going, but you are still able at this moment to hit a pro level. If you want to get on a team for Magic or start a team, you can do both of those things. And so there are a lot of people that are just like, I don't know like what competitive Magic is going to look like in the future. Okay, well, no one knows. So everyone is experiencing the same frustration. Great, but this doesn't stop you from playing competitive Magic. If I want to go play in a competitive Magic tournament right now, like I'm going to play in 2 competitive Magic tournaments this weekend because that's how I want to spend my time. That will qualify me for Mythic Championship Barcelona. Cool.
Yeah, which one?
All of these things. What, say it again.
Which ones?
My PTQs are in Tacoma and Spokane.
Jesus, you have 2 PTQs?
Oh, ooh, so many here in Washington. I'm flooded in PTQs. There was one last weekend too.
You know where there aren't any PTQs? Well, MTQs, whatever. I'm not going to be one of those people. In Washington, DC.
Oh, you poor baby. You poor baby. I feel for you right now. I do. Didn't you just play in one last weekend?
Yeah, that was at a Laurel Racetrack. It was actually kind of a sweet venue. Like, not that it was like the super fanciest thing or whatever, but like we were right at the racetrack. Like they had concessions right there. There's a big room, actual room.
So,
well, way better than
what I actually think Nick's statement is saying is that I want to accomplish these things that get me respect from my peers or are important to me because they will be seen and I will enjoy them. And with all of these changes that are taking place in Magic, with a lack of coverage at events and not knowing what competitive Magic is going to look like, I will not be able to do those things the way that I envisioned that I wanted to do them. And that's totally fine. I have no issue with that, but I don't want to like be working under the guise of like I can't top 8 a GP anymore because all this stuff is changing in the MPL and all these like bells, all these like goalposts are changing. It's like, no, you can still go do that. Like, you can still go qualify for a Pro Tour this weekend, like in person or on Magic Online. Like you can go do the things you want to do. Now, I don't know if that means can you afford to fly to the Pro Tour? I don't know. I hope the answer is yes, and that it's financially responsible for you to be able to do that thing. And I'm not saying you have no reason not to be frustrated, but if you still want to play competitive Magic because you enjoy playing competitive Magic like I do when I have the ability to do that, I am literally going to go do that this weekend. And you just did that last weekend.
Yeah, and you are playing in both of those MCQs this weekend. And knowing that you plan on playing in both, that tells me right now you're not winning the first one.
That absolutely. I'm planning on driving to Spokane as soon as I go like 3-2 in Tacoma.
Yeah, which really shows that nothing has changed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Except
you set me up.
You got 2 more wins than you usually do if you're going 3-2.
You set me up for this.
Yeah, you're a big loser.
You set me up for this. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm playing I'll use all the improper terminology. I am playing 2 Moto PTQs this weekend. So.
Oh my God, that actually just makes my ears hurt.
Possibly 1, but we'll see.
Oh, look at you, Mr. Confidence.
Yeah.
I like it. I understand people's frustration with all these things that are going on. And look, 22-year-old me would probably be a little bit frustrated, but honestly, I don't really think I would be that much because like, I don't know, like shit's changing. And also like, if you are not new to competitive Magic, this is just kind of par for the course, right? Like, it's not like we haven't seen like this sort of behavior from Wizards of the Coast and organized play and stuff of like, it's kind of fluid. It's never really set in stone. things change a bunch. Sometimes they try to remove your pro points, and then sometimes the hashtag pay the pros thing gets started. And like, yeah, that was really screwed up. And like they, went back and fixed that in quotes, and that's cool. But like this isn't anything. What we're seeing right now isn't really anything out of the norm, and to expect anything different doesn't really make a lot of sense to me.
Do you want to end this on the Zen Master story?
What's the Zen Master story?
The Zen Master story, it's a random story, but it's not from Charlie Wilson's War, but it's best done in Charlie Wilson's War by Phillips Seymour Hoffman, who R.I.P. But he tells the story of the Zen Master. So this young boy in the village just got a new horse as a gift. Everyone's celebrating. And the Zen Master says, we'll see. And then the boy falls off the horse and breaks his leg. And everyone's like, wow, that horse is terrible. And that horse was a curse to you. And the master says, we'll see. And then war breaks out, and the boy can't be forced to join the army because he's got this leg injury. And now everyone's like, wow, that was lucky that he fell off the horse. What a fortunate, great gift. And the Zen master says, we'll see. So like they come out with the MPL, and then they change it, and then they're going to change it again. You see how that's
I think
say,
I got it.
We'll see. And then they say, well, diversity is good now, and streamers are, and then we'll say, you get it.
I got
yeah.
You get it? You get it?
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, like we'll be talking about this on the next podcast.
I don't know. It's just kind of weird. It's just going to kind of go where it goes. And it's not like it's funny because it's like
they're pantsing, not plotting.
I am also, I am emotionally and financially tied to like Magic the Gathering. So, it's like, for myself personally, it's pretty important that like all this stuff goes pretty well. But, like
we'll see.
I wish we could have fired up this podcast and been like, we have all the fixes. This is super easy. And it's like, it's just really, really hard to figure out and do.
Mom, I dropped out of college because of Magic. Oh, that's a terrible thing to do. We'll see.
Yeah. Hey, Mom. Magic is my entire income in life now, and I'm very happy.
Yeah, I'm very happy, and finally, I'm the most financially stable, and I have the best future like coming up that I could have predicted. We'll see.
What are you gonna eat for dinner?
Well, it's 10:31 p.m. So what I have eaten for dinner was didn't really have much. I like some ravioli, and then I had like a banana with peanut butter, and just felt like snacking.
Some ravs?
I'm gonna make a instant pot meal later this week, and so I was mainly shopping for that rather than for like instant gratification food.
What are you playing in these PTQs before we go?
Sealed, lots of planeswalkers. But last weekend I played Bant in standard, and it was like kind of blah, and just a bunch of good. It's just a stack of good cards as opposed to any synergies at all. I would just suggest playing like actual synergies.
Okay, so a bunch of white creatures with some counterspells in the sideboard is what I should play. Okay.
No, that sounds horrible. Arclight Phoenix won both Moto PTQs and the MCQ that I was at somehow. So
okay, so I should play more white creatures and less counterspells.
I saw a list that had 0 history, 0 Benelish Marshall.
Oh, yeah.
You should play that.
Oh, yeah. You are talking my language. Whew.
Yeah.
That is nice.
It had 8 Convoke cards, interestingly enough. So
yeah, it sounds great. A ton of 1-drops. All right, Tommy.
Yeah.
A pleasure as always.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope the people enjoyed your return to the podcast. He is Stainerson Ware on Twitter, I think.
We'll see. Yeah, on Twitter.
All right, on Twitter. People know where to find me. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast, and we'll see where the MPL goes from here, right?
Yeah, and everybody, if you like this podcast, send out horrible tweets accusing everybody of being terrible and not deserving anything.
Do that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You're already doing that? Oh, great.
And with that, I hope you did enjoy today's episode of the podcast. Tommy Ashton, always one of my favorite people to have on and one of my very best friends in life. So I think we had a pretty good back and forth about just everything that's kind of going on with this. And, as I mentioned, I think he did as well. It's very difficult to kind of decide or infer what the MPL is supposed to be, because what I want it to be is different from what Tommy wants to be, which is different from what you want it to be, which is different from what Sally wants it to be, which is different from what Bryce wants it to be, and every other person. But what is it supposed to be? Again, almost an impossible question to answer, so we will find out soon enough. Apologies again to anyone's name that I did pronounce incorrectly. I promise I'm trying, and I'll have to talk with some of them to make sure I actually get their names 100% correct in the future. Hopefully no one gets too upset about that. But if you did enjoy what you heard, you can of course subscribe and review over on iTunes. You can also find the podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, the podcast app, and over on Patreon as well. I'm headed into the office today. We'll have another podcast for you later this week with Joey Bags. We're doing a Money in the Bank preview. And then, of course, if you are following me on social media, you will find my race for Liliana as I prepare to donate some monies over to charity in my hope of finding a foil Liliana Dread Horde General, pardon me, in my Japanese War of the Spark packs. I'll be opening 3 packs every day, be posting it on Twitter, so feel free to follow along with me with that, and I wish you all a wonderful week. Be excellent to one another. Jewel Vera, let's go home.
Don't tell me you thought that you had a shot, boy, you know you